When you hear the word greed, what usually comes to mind? Probably wanting more money, more stuff, right? But what if that's just scratching the surface? In this explainer, we're going to dive deep into this incredible psychological map from the Theravada Buddhist tradition. It breaks greed down into a complex, seriously intricate system that's going on inside our own heads. So let me just throw this out there. What if greed isn't this one single monolithic feeling? What if it's actually 8 completely different, classifiable states of consciousness, each one with its own unique flavor, its own cause, and its own power? That's the mind-blowing idea we're going to unpack right now. And here's how we're going to do it in 4 simple parts. First, we'll get to the bottom of what greed really is at its core. Then, we'll look at the 3 key ways it's broken down. After that, we'll see how those pieces come together to give us those 8 states. And finally, we'll dig into why any of this actually matters in the real world. Okay, let's start at the very beginning, the foundation. In this system, we're not just talking about greed. The word we need to know is lobha. This is seen as the absolute root of all attachment. So, this is the key takeaway here. Lobha isn't just wanting something. It's the mental action of clinging to it, of grasping it, of really sinking your mind into something just because you've decided it's enjoyable. It's an active process of holding on, not just some passive wish. And what's so wild is just how broad this concept really is. I mean, look at this list. Lobha isn't just some big, scary vice. It shows up in ways we all feel every single day. From a simple wish or a feeling of affection, all the way up to really intense states like lust or avarice. They all grow from that exact same root of grasping. And get this, we're not just talking about a minor personality quirk. In Buddhist philosophy, lobha is seen as this huge cosmic force. It's this very act of clinging, this attachment we have to experiences and things that's said to power the entire cycle of existence, what's known as samsara. It's a seriously powerful binding energy. So you might be wondering, how in the world do we get from this one big idea of lobha to 8 separate states? Well, it's all about deconstructing a single moment of consciousness. We're going to run it through 3 different analytical filters. These are our tools for the job. We're going to examine every single greedy thought through these 3 lenses. First, what's the feeling that comes with it? Second, what's the intellectual view or belief that's attached to it? And third, what about its promptness? Was it spontaneous or not? Let's take that first one, feeling. So first, we just ask, what did it actually feel like? Sometimes greed is joyful, right? Think about that giddy little buzz you get when you find something you really, really wanted. But other times it's just neutral, a calm, matter-of-fact attachment without any of that excitement. So right off the bat, every greedy thought is one or the other, joyful or neutral. Second filter, what did you think about it? This is super important. Did that greedy thought come packaged with some kind of incorrect belief system, what's called a wrong view? Or was it just a simple, raw feeling of desire, with no philosophical baggage attached? This distinction is absolutely crucial. And what do we even mean by wrong view here? Well, it's not just about getting a fact wrong. We're talking about deep-seated beliefs that are seen as fundamentally out of touch with reality, like believing that your actions have no moral consequences, or, and this one's more subtle, that ingrained belief in a permanent, solid self, or I, that's totally separate from everything else. It could even be a justification like, well, God gave this to us, so it's okay. These are the intellectual frames we build around raw desire. And our final filter is all about where the thought came from. Was it unprompted? Did it just bubble up all by itself, naturally and spontaneously? Or was it prompted? Did you have to kind of talk yourself into it, or maybe a friend gave you a nudge? It's the difference between an instant impulse and an action that needed a little push. Okay, let's recap. We have our 3 filters: feeling, view, and promptness. Each one is a pretty simple choice. Now, this is where the magic happens. Let's see what we get when we put them all together. This is where the whole matrix just reveals itself. Those 3 simple divisions, joy versus neutral, wrong view versus no wrong view, and prompted versus unprompted, when you do the math, they combine to create exactly 8 distinct, totally identifiable states of greed-rooted consciousness. Let's check them out. And boom, this table just lays it all out perfectly. Look at type 1. It's joyful, you've got a wrong view to justify it, And it happens spontaneously. The example is spot on. Joyfully stealing because you're telling yourself, the rich have too much anyway. Type 2 is the exact same thing, but it only happened because your friend egged you on. Now compare that to type 3. Still joyful, still spontaneous, but there's no incorrect belief. It's just the simple, pure pleasure of eating amazing food. You see? The same pattern repeats for the states that have that neutral, equanimous feeling. Each combo creates a very, very specific mental texture. Okay, so we've got this super detailed map, but you might be thinking, is this just some cool philosophical exercise? No way. Understanding this map is all about understanding the real-world impact and the relative power of these different mental states. Yeah, these 8 states aren't just harmless little thoughts floating by. They are the direct seeds that grow into unwholesome actions. Things like sexual misconduct, that intense feeling of wanting what others have, and even just holding on to that wrong view itself. And look where they pop up, in totally normal parts of life. The source material points out that for most of us, these states of attachment actually make up the bulk of our consciousness all day long. And these distinctions have real physical effects. Here's a crazy detail that shows just how precise this system is. Only the 4 joyful types of greed can actually cause you to smile. The 4 neutral, equanimous types, they can still make you act, for sure, but they won't produce a smile. It's a fascinating link between a subtle mental state and a physical expression. Now, even with all this variety, here's the thing. All 8 of these states are plugged into the same 2 power sources. Loha, or greed, is the main one, of course, but it is always, and I mean always, accompanied by moha, or delusion. That's a fundamental blindness to how things really are. Greed simply can't exist in a mind that sees with perfect clarity. And let's talk about the ego for a sec, because this is a really subtle but super important point. In those 4 states that have the wrong view, you have the intellectual belief in a self. But in the other 4, the ones without the wrong view, you get the feeling of conceit instead. I'm better than them or I'm worse than them. The key is the ego is always there, but it shows up either as a belief or as a feeling, never both, at the exact same moment. Finally, and this is a big one, not all greedy thoughts are created equal when it comes to their consequences or their karma. A state of consciousness that's tied to a wrong view is way more powerful, way more karmically heavy than one without it. A spontaneous, unprompted thought is stronger than one you got pushed into. And this might be surprising, but a neutral, equanimous state of greed is often seen as more powerful in creating future results than a joyful one, maybe because it's calmer and more deeply rooted. So we've journeyed through this whole intricate map of the mind, and it really all comes down to one final question. This one isn't for me, it's for you. Now that you've seen the Matrix, now that you can maybe start to identify these different flavors of attachment, which of these 8 states colors your world most often?